Thank you for joining us tonight. This is a DCCA webinar on social media led by Guru Dave Carter. Thank you, Dave.
It's a pleasure. I love doing these presentations. I love helping people use social media more, well beyond Facebook, because I use just about everything. And I know that there's always something we can learn to make what we do in these tools a little bit better. And I'm hoping that people will watch these videos and attend live and learn something here. What I'm going to address specifically based upon our conversations, Lee, is going to be making the events pop. And I know that everybody has seen the events in Facebook. If you haven't been using Facebook. So I want to make sure that people who are using Facebook, at least beyond the casual level, understand if you are going to use an event for your organizations, you can use them more effectively. Sound fun? Great. All right, I'm going to jump into it since we're recording this. It can make it a lot easier for everybody. But I really want everybody to be able to turbocharge what they do in social media. And I could spend an awful lot of time discussing how to use social media in event management using other tools, a lot of other tools. And you can do it, for example, you can use Hangouts and events inside of Google+, and you can use LinkedIn events, and there's a wealth of choices for events. But I'm specifically going to cover the events that you can use in Facebook. If you want to learn events in other areas, there's a lot of ways you can learn. One of them is calling me, but I may not answer the phone. But you can try looking for webinars and other things such as this, and perhaps you can learn those. But Facebook is the big granddaddy, and everybody will be using that, so that's where I'm going. I'd like to cover one thing that a lot of people end up seeing. What happens is people will start an event themselves, or they'll see an event, and they really interact very little with the event. A Facebook event will pop up in their stream. They'll say, oh, I want to go to that. They'll choose whether or not they're going to attend, or they may say maybe, and they may or may not remember. They may not remember to check their events. If they don't have their notifications turned on, the notification may not show up and say, hey, you have an event today. Those little things happen. So I'm going to make some suggestions in the time provided to help people understand that there are a few ways that we can use events better, and some things that you can do to remind people so that they can use their events or engage better with the events that you create. Now, right now, what we do is we'll create an event if you have created them before. You'll put some information out there, give it a title, give it a date, those kinds of basics on setting up an event. And what happens is you kind of just let it sit there. You may tell a few friends that the event is there. Hey, I got an event in Facebook. Did you show up? Or you may invite them using the invitation tool inside of Facebook, which is great. And if you're doing that, you're at least using the events. I hear drums or something. A lot of people will do that, and then they just show up. And inevitably, some people actually will show up to your event, which is great. I'm going to give you some techniques which will help you have a lot of people show up. There are some things which, of course, will keep people from showing up, like 2 events occurring at the same time and the other event being a little bit more interesting, or one of those things that's not recorded, but those things happen. I don't want people to be afraid to use the social media tools, and this graphic explains it. A lot of people get overwhelmed, and they all these icons on their apps and other things, and they go, oh my. It's really just embrace one thing and embrace it really well before you expand into another. But when you do it, try to take the time to explore and learn everything you can about it, because there's a lot of easy things that you can do, but you don't realize they're easy until you do them. So I'm going to go through the Facebook events, and let's have some fun with it. What I'd like for everybody to know is when you create an event, you really can make that event pop. Now, it all depends on what the event is. Of course, if it's an interesting event, it kind of sells itself. Like if, say your favorite presidential candidate is appearing somewhere in whatever county. Let's say someone's coming to Orange County. Let's say Ted Cruz or Trump or Rubio or whoever is coming to Orange County. Well, people are going to hear about it anyway, and the event is kind of going to sell itself. But let's say it's something like a Lincoln Reagan dinner. If you have something like that, you really have to work a little harder to remind people. There will be people who are the regular event attendees, and they're going to show up regardless. But how do you get the additional people? Well, the first step is really going to be using your own network. And we do these things already. This is the status quo stuff. You tell your friends, you send things out to your email list, you use your group's email list. There's those little techniques where you tell them in a meeting, hey, they're saying save the date, all this other kind of stuff. But these little techniques, these 2 bullets here, really are some things that a lot of people just forget to do. So I'm going to mention this, and it has nothing to do with Facebook, but it does help if people are using Facebook. The first one is, please tell your friends to save the date. Actually, saving the date is an important term that a lot of people forget to do. Because you say, hey, remember that so-and-so is on this date. Great. Save the date.
Mark it in your calendar.
Exactly. You give them a command like that. It's called an action, a call to action. When you do that, people tend to do it. So they tend not to forget. And if you say, share this post, if you actually tell them in your post, share this, a lot of people will share it for you because the call to action is there. And we forget to tell people that their next step is to help you. So a lot of people don't like doing any extra work, and hitting share on Facebook is pretty easy. So you tell people, you don't need to edit this, just share. And it really does a lot of work for you. That makes it so much easier. The other thing is you can tell people in an email using the old school email thread, copy and paste, send it right now. That way you have the people not sending to a complete email list. You've seen that with the headers filled with 1 million names, and they keep forwarding it, and it gets ugly. So you tell people to copy and paste. You give them a command, here's your call to action, and hopefully they'll do it. But these are the basics that a lot of people will do now. With an event, whether it's in Facebook or outside of Facebook, but social media in general, you need to create, for a big event, a community. And how to do that is pretty simple. Every event that's pretty large, let's just address Lincoln Reagan dinners. There's already a community. There's a committee assigned to it. There are people who plan it. There are people who are responsible for the food, for the venue, for other portions. There are people responsible, and they are part of the community. Then there are people who go every year. Those are part of the community also. You tap into the complete community and you build it before the event. So let's say the Lincoln Reagan is 3 months from now. We really need to take advantage of that time, and we need to build the buzz for the event. Well, actually 3 months is actually too short, so let's build it kind of further out. But this information here, I say at least 30 days. You can't build a group in a week. You can, but it's senseless. But you build a Facebook group around your event. You go into Facebook, create your event, then build a group that matches the event. You can reuse that group every year if it's a Lincoln Reagan type dinner. And that group could be called, let's say it's Durham County, Orange County, or whatever county, Lincoln Reagan dinner, or Lincoln dinner, or Reagan dinner, or whatever you call it. When you do that, the group stays in place, and the people who are participants in that group keep getting reminded, because as the new Lincoln Reagan dinner comes around, they start seeing the posts in that group. So when you are doing that, you're sharing posts in the group that are a little bit more private, not so much for the public to see, but hey, did anybody remember to do this? Or hey, good news, so-and-so is singing the national anthem. Those kinds of things are good for a group. You want to build the buzz. If you're giving away a shotgun or those kinds of things, those pre-announcements go in this group, so people start getting excited. Other groups that work like Facebook groups or the LinkedIn, Google group, and there are a few others. But since this is Facebook only, I'm hitting that. But no matter what you cover, it will build some sort of viral mass. It really takes in what energy you give it. So if you don't give it a lot of energy, it's not going to be very viral. So the important thing is to give it things that make people interested. Give them calls to action. Tell people in the group, do these things. Now, you don't have to ignore the Facebook event, too. If you're posting something interesting in the group and it's suitable for public consumption, use multimedia in both the Facebook event and the group. When you do that, you need to include things such as photos and videos and what have you, but you must have, as an absolute minimum, an event with what I have listed here, which is a photo, a banner, which is the banner photo across the top, or a banner image, and some images included in the event that give people a sense of what the event is about, where the profile or the large banner photo don't quite do that. They may, but give more. Let's say, for example, we're talking about Lincoln Reagan. If you have photos from last year and you have a photo and a banner, maybe you have Lincoln and Reagan together and it's kind of an old school, old-timey nostalgic photo across the top, and you have something with Lincoln and Reagan or your county GOP logo or something as your profile photo, which is the small photo in the event. You have the larger banner photo. Go ahead and dig through your photos or find people on your team, have them share with you or share on the event more photos from previous events. Go through and tag those photos too with people, because what happens is people are reminded, hey, you went last year, come this year. So those photos of people really represent to people who may be seeing this for the first time what they can expect. Here's a picture of someone speaking. Here's Dan Forrest up at the lectern. Here's Tom Tillis. Here's whomever speaking. Here are people listening. Here are people enjoying the fellowship of others. Here are the smiling faces. If you can put in smiling faces, you're going to have people who are interested in smiling along with you. Now, I have this bullet in here that reads, video is a huge bonus. And that's not mine. Most people have some video capable means, like a smartphone, Android phone of some sort, iPhone. GoPro is something. They have some way of capturing video. Right now, if you're watching the webinar, at least at some point you glance at the video portion of this, because you're hearing a voice and there's a face associated with it. So the human, there's the psychology behind this, the human face is what pulls you to it, so you want to see what's going on. So what's going to happen is if you have video of an event from a previous event, put it in your post for the new event. If you don't have video for an event, say it's a brand new event, put a video of yourself or someone on the committee talking about the event, because people will gravitate to the video, they'll play it, and they'll learn about the event from the video. When you have the event built and you're sharing these items that are multimedia, a lot of people forget that they can use photos that are turbocharged. And the ubiquitous meme is something that a lot of people fall back on, and I think it's a wonderful tool for getting people to have calls to action. Now, if you don't know what a meme is, it's one of those pictures that has, essentially it's a picture with words on it that tells people something cute or something clever. It's not just the caption, but it's something that communicates and typically drives someone to action or drives someone to think. You'll have a meme of some political figure and you'll have something that is humorous on it. Create your own memes just by taking pictures using Photoshop or using PowerPoint or some other graphics tool. Put some captions on it, put some information on it, and then share it with people. And I mentioned in here quotes. Take a picture, take a meaningful quote. Let's say that you had a guest speaker last year of Tom Tillis, and he said something that was impactful. If you remember that quote, or someone has a video and they have that quote, well, share the video if you can. But otherwise, take that quote, drop it on the picture, share the picture on the event page. Why? Well, he may not be speaking this year, but people can see, wow, I missed that important quote at that event. I'm not going to miss this year's event. Do the same thing with regular quotes where you don't have a picture. Take a picture of people having a good time and this one quote of somebody who said something important. Put it out there. There are also quote engines where you can go and get an important quote from Lincoln or an important quote from Eisenhower or someone else that you favor or would help underscore the importance of the event. So you can find it, the quote engines that are on the web, just look for quotes. If you do a search for quotes, you can find a quote for every occasion, even some occasions I didn't even know existed. And you can take those quotes, share them as part of the event. You'll find that a lot of people who are participants in the event will like the quote and will also share them. That brings people back to the event. It creates a trail to the event. Further, that sharing construct builds the viral mass that you need in order to get a lot of people to attend your event. Now, this is still talking about a free event. We're not getting into any paid services for promoting the event.
Free advertising for the event, you mean?
It's all free. This is the earned media coverage where you're using the social media, you present something to them, and social does its job. A lot of people forget to use the hashtags for their events. Like I use an example here, Orange Lincoln Reagan Dinner or Orange LR Dinner. If you're using Twitter, you have 140 characters, so you really don't want to use a lot of characters, but if you can use a few and be succinct, yet still conveying what the event is, run with that. So Orange, I could do OCLR Dinner, that's not so bad either. You want to keep it short. You want people to be able to use the hashtag and understand what that hashtag is. When you use that hashtag, use it in Facebook. A lot of people don't hashtag, but you just don't. Background. Use it in Facebook. If people share it into Twitter, the hashtag conveys to Twitter. If people are using Twitter as their origination point for your event, they will use that hashtag and it will further help promote your event in the Twitter universe. But be consistent. Use the same hashtag for the event. If you have other hashtags that you think of down the road, use them sparingly, but stick with your original hashtag because that is the only way to really get it used. So if you have photos of people at the event, I'll say the event is live right now, have people use your hashtag when they take pictures in Twitter, which you can do, or Facebook, tag the event with the hashtag, because that event will actually repeat next year with the same hashtag. So I want to explain that really quickly because this will be useful beyond the events. If you have something that repeats in any way, an event is a good example, but it repeats in any way. If you hashtag it, it will go into their database, if you will, and if someone clicks on the hashtag and brings up the list of related posts from the hashtag, it'll show everything way back in time. So if you consistently use your hashtag year after year, people may see pictures from 3 years ago at the Orange LR Dinner or the OC LR Dinner or whatever you name your particular event hashtag. So it's a good idea to be consistent with it and use it year over year. And as I mentioned, you can attach this to photos so that people share it. Live tweeting or live posting from Facebook makes it kind of fun. Again, this is still the free stuff, but these are the rules that you should follow for the events. This is the digital domain. When you are working in an event, make sure that you, at a minimum, you have to do these things. And you should already be doing these, but if not, this is where you go. You capture the emails and phone numbers of anybody who has any kind of device. So if they have an email, you capture it. If they have a phone number, capture it. Why? You got to be able to invite them to the next event. In addition to that, you have to make people feel special, and that's why I say set aside time for people who are VIP to spend time for photo ops or for conversation with the featured or the keynote or the special people who are there. That's commonly used in tiered payment scenarios where you have gold or silver or some other arrangements where
Big
people pay
givers.
more. Right. If you do those, you can make the event more special by telling people the chosen few. It's kind of like that. It's like you're really special when this happens. And people will convey, they'll actually struggle a little bit with it, but they may say, you know, I'm going to go ahead and pay the little bit extra because I want that time with this special person. When you do that, photos of that special event and photos in the general event are important. Photos of everything are important. The bad photos, the beautiful thing about smartphones and the digital cameras that we have these days is it's so easy to take pictures and throw away the bad pictures. Old school, I still have my old school cameras and I have fun with them. But you know, you take a roll, you got 26 shots or 24 shots if everything works out like it's supposed to, or 36 if you buy a big roll. Then you take it in and you get it developed, then you get it converted. Those old school ways are gone with the digital age, and we are taking lots and lots of photos. Get rid of the bad photos. Get rid of the photos where people have their mouths open and they're shoving a fork in. Get rid of those because people don't like those photos.
Exactly. No unflattering photos.
Yes. But take the photos where people are smiling, where people have if their mouths are open in laughter, you can tell the difference. Those are great photos when they're clapping, when you see people in a jovial manner. Those photos sell your event. If you combine those photos in the promotional for the following year, your next event is going to be a cakewalk. And if you do have a cakewalk, take pictures. You have to take pictures or even video. But let's say that you have an opportunity to have video of the last year's keynote speaker. A lot of people say, oh, I don't want to share that because it's not related. It was a campaign year or election year. It doesn't matter. It's an engaging video because a lot of people will see a video of something that was in the past and wonder, oh, I wonder what he said then, or who was in the audience. Oh, look, they pan across the audience. I didn't know she went. You know, things like that would be what people would see. So take video. And if you can, pan across the audience so that you can see the attendees, the speakers included, so that you can pull people into the event. This is a Facebook event you're building. Make it an event in itself. That way people really look forward to attending the real event. I mentioned before quotes and memes. An interview which leads to a testimonial is one of the most valuable things you can have for any event. Now, a lot of people realize that, well, this works best if it's a repeating event. Well, if it's a brand new event, you can still use testimonials. At the beginning or the preparation point of this event for tonight, I actually sent out a sample quote from one of the students that I'd had in a former class. I didn't send it out to everybody. I didn't have the time to set everything up because this isn't a Lincoln Reagan dinner, but it is important. So I ran a test, and some people actually saw it. And if you would like to see it, I can email you a screenshot. It's actually pretty cool. But if it's an inaugural type event, a brand new event, get testimonials from people who know about the event in some way. Let's say that you're having a Constitution class event. Well, find someone that you know, like Tim Daughtry is going to be speaking soon. Call Tim and say, hey, Tim, can you give me a quick quote on the Constitution and why it's important to learn? He may not be related to the event, but he has name recognition and he has a lot of things that he can say, so he has quotable material. Use that to create a testimonial for yourself for the event that you are planning. When you do that, it gives a little bit more credence to the event and people will see something that is interesting and shareable. Here's an example. I just created something from John Q. Random. I don't know the fellow. Attending the event or hearing the speakers in person was so important to me. I look forward to future events. That's a generic type of testimonial. But that is the perfect type of testimonial that you can receive because it tells people they actually did something and they learned something and they're eager to have future events that are similar. You can take this type of quote and, as I mentioned, turn it into a meme. Drop it on a picture of that person. Drop it on a picture of a group of people smiling. You see there's the innocuous shots, the ubiquitous shots where people are assembling and taking pictures of everybody. It's like, oh, I haven't seen you in 3 months, and everybody gets together and there's these hugs and there's a picture. Those types of pictures are great because most people don't format the picture when they take it with a digital camera in such a way that it actually is the heads and shoulders, and it's really difficult to explain on the screen, but imagine this whole slide as the event picture. And here's where the heads are, like this, and here's the body, stick figures. Well, yeah, they're very skinny people. The best thing you can do is take that quote that you have here and drop the quote across the bodies. Why? A lot of people think that their bodies aren't perfect. They love their faces, but they're not happy with their bodies. So cover their bodies a little bit, and you'll do everybody a favor. I'm not saying that there's going to be a lot of skinny or fat people or whatever. Some people just prefer to have their bodies because they're more self-conscious. Having the text on covering it works. So take the text so that it contrasts against whatever they're wearing. Put that quote across here. You see the smiling faces on top. Share that out as part of the event. People will say, oh, I know those people. They had a good time. I'm going to the next one. So those kinds of memes work really well.
Are you going to show us how to do that? Like how to literally?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
I'm going to have some fun with this. When you have special guests, you need to use photos of them, but you need to use them wisely. A lot of people will go through and share pictures of special people all over the place. You can't control that. But you as the coordinator, or you who's working on a team of coordinators, really need to make sure that you use your special guest pictures, especially on the day of the event, carefully. Let's go to prior, before the event. If you know that, let's say, presidential candidate A, without using any names so that I don't show any favoritism, presidential candidate A is going to be attending your event, and you're very excited about it. It's okay to take pictures and put pictures of that person, he or she, in your event. It's better if you can reach out to their campaign and say, do you have preferred pictures that you want me to post? Or reach out to the person themselves, if they're not as important as a presidential candidate, and say, do you have a speaker's kit, or do you have a kit that you would like for pre-announcing? And they often include bio shots or head shots or something. Use those. Don't turn those into a meme, but include those with quotes. Or perhaps add in YouTube videos where they've spoken in public before, if they have. These kinds of things let people know who they're going to be listening to and have the opportunity to speak. And also, it helps set the stage for what they may or may not speak on, because they may have videos or YouTube videos where they've spoken before. In addition to that, if other people have images of whoever the speaker or the speakers are, whoever the speakers are, what you'll do is ask them in your emails and your social media posts in the group. Don't do it on the event. In the group, say, hey, do you have a picture of presidential candidate A and you? Oh, yeah. Conveniently, I ran into that person at the convention this year. I'm going to put him in this event. Yes, go to the event, post that picture. Talk about how wonderful it was to meet them in person. Something like that. Share your story. Again, sharing stories is what you want to use. You want the viral mass to build on your event. You want that viral mass to stay in existence to the next year or to the next event. So if you have a series of events, which I'm sure that may be something that Lee could do for the DCCA training. Create an event, make it a recurring event, just keep naming it very similar names, keep adding new subtitles to it, which describe the next event, and have people consistently use a hashtag with regard to that event. Add pictures to it, add notes to it, add important things, references to websites, those kinds of things, so people can keep referencing the nice information that's included. Okay, I'm talking about sharing in a whole bunch of ways. And a lot of people forget some of these little nuances that really add to the quality of the event sharing. Now, since I've been talking a bit about Lincoln Reagan events, which are repeating events, it's difficult to reference some of these things for a one-off event, but a big one-off event, a big special one-time event, will have things or activities that are well enough in advance of the event that can build buzz. Examples: tables, the festooning, people moving stuff around, people preparing special ribbons that people wear, flowers going on tables. Those kinds of things show that the people who are the volunteers typically, who are working, they're contributing to the success of the event. And a lot of people forget that these people make the event happen. And these people are your best champions for the event. So if you take pictures of them doing all this stuff, let's say they're sitting down and they're at a table and they've got a call list in front of them and they're making 3 or 4 calls. You take a video of those 2 or 3 calls. You don't have to use the sound. Put the video of Terry taking the time to make calls to remind people of the event. Put that 2-minute video out there. People will look at it. They'll be bored with it, but they'll say, hey, it's really nice that Terry took the time. Hey, that was a little onomatopoeia or whatever it is, alliteration. All right, so you take images and you put them out there so that people see that the event has people who are heroes who prepared for the event. When you do that, their social network becomes part of your social network for the event. Again, this is one of those things that people tend to forget to do. I'm not blaming anybody for anything. You get so busy as you get wrapped up in an event. These little things are easy to miss, but they're very valuable.
It's a, hey, Meg and Rita are hard at work preparing for a fabulous Lincoln Reagan dinner.
There you go, exactly.
See y'all.
Pictures of people doing this kind of work, especially if you can use it year over year, it's great. People don't remember that she had a picture last year, but they think she's preparing this year, and wow, they set the table 3 weeks early. That's wonderful. All right, so far on the events, I've spent a good deal of time talking about some of these small items that you can do that have a huge impact, that are digital domain items that are free or cost very little. You may, I don't know if you have to pay for processing on your phone or whatever, but there may be some insignificant costs that are associated with doing the steps that I just described. And a lot of people forget that you can have a successful event, but still promote it and make it really successful. Really great events can be completely free. But let's address like a Lincoln Reagan or a big event. If you have a hall that seats 300 people or 500 people, and you know that consistently from last year's numbers or the year before or the last presidential year, whatever you use as your baseline, you had 222 people. You want that last 80 people, that last 78 people to fill that hall. You can use these new techniques and probably get a 30% bump in your number, maybe more. That may be all you need. But if you really want standing room only, if you want SRO for your event, and you know that the money is going to bring in money to your coffers for the organization, for the county, for the district, then take a little bit of money that you have, if you've set it aside, and use it for promotion. So that's all the free stuff so far. And I'm going to cover some of the additional free stuff, but here's an example of an event. I just created a simple event. This has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with CCH, but it's just ignore what it is.
It's Terry Lincoln.
Beg your pardon?
CCH is concealed carry handgun?
Yes, CCH is concealed carry handgun, and it tells you a little bit on this. I'm going to go ahead and bring my little tools here. This right here says change event photo. You'll see that. Dude, that's their background banner photo. Always change it. Set it up. It'll tell you the best photo is 1920 by 1080. That's a high resolution photo because it makes a very clean banner at the top. Give the event name something that makes sense. These little eyes over here, if you click on them, they actually tell you what to do. I'm telling you what to do here. Create an event name that makes sense. So for example, I was creating the CCH training for absolute beginners. Where is it located? You link the location to the GPS tool on your phone by making sure that the location pulls up a real location inside of Facebook. A lot of people don't realize it does that. If you don't have it, you can put GPS coordinates here. Believe it or not, you can do that and it will still work. If you don't have GPS coordinates, get the closest address to it, put that in there, like field over near Flanders or something. And that way you have an address that people could key off of, and you'll have to put in physical items to guide people from there. If you have a start and end, use the start and end. And use the time zone, because a lot of people forget that. And it's really goofy, because if I, by mistake, had set this up for PDT, people would be showing up 3 hours differently, and I don't want that. If you have multiple hosts, you can do that. You can set these kinds of things up. If you have tickets and other details, use those. I'm going to be setting up an event shortly so we can see these in detail, but then I'm going to take that event and use an ad tool or the Facebook ads to turbocharge it. I'm going to show you how to do that. A lot of people can spend crazy amounts of money on an event. There's no need to. You can take $20 or $50 for an event and drive up your attendance significantly if you target your ad well. And I'll show you how to do that. Okay, let me clear this stuff here. It takes just a moment. Okay, an event where I spend money on the advertising is called a boosted event or a promoted event, but boosted sounds more fun. So the steps are, you create the event. The best way to create an event is not on the personal profile, but on a page. And I'll do that in just a moment. In fact, I'm going to switch right now. Everybody's able to see this?
Yep.
This is the 4th District page. It reads 4th District NCGOP. This is the 4th District page, which I have access to. And there's tools on it that need to be used that aren't being used right now. But 4 likes this week. That's nice. But there's so many things on this page that we could be working with. But I'm going to go ahead and create an event. This event right here, November 5th, Thursday, 11 a.m., Tim Daughtry will be speaking during a webinar called Persuasive Messaging. It's just like the webinar which you are attending right now. We're going to make an event out of this. We can turn this into an event quite easily. There are several ways to do it. One, by using the offer an event here, which is perhaps the easiest way from this screen. So I'm going to show you that step really quickly. I'm going to go back to the steps. You want to create the event, which we're about to do. You want to share that event to your free network. When you're in that event, I'm going to show you. There's an invite button. Use it. Invite everybody you know with a big mouth. Invite everybody you know who is really active on Facebook. Invite everybody you know who may or may not attend, but is likely to talk about it. You want that marketing to kick in. The viral marketing is the organic marketing, which I have described in all the slides prior to this. The paid marketing kicks in afterwards, where you actually pay for a specific audience to see the event. I'm switching back to the event. What I'm going to do, very simply, is I'm going to take this post, which is out here under 4th District. I'm going to copy it. And you can use, if you're using a Mac, it's going to be your Command C, or if it's a keyboard, it's just Control C. But I'm using this so everybody can see it. When you do that, you're going to take a copy of it, and you're going to go up to the top here where it reads Offer an Event Plus. You're going to click on that, and it wants to know, well, what do you want? It's not an offer, it's an event. You're going to create an event for the page. The nice thing about doing the event from a Facebook page is it automatically gives you a banner. I'm going to contrast that for you. If I was on my, I'm going to close this. If I was on my personal profile up here and went to create an event, it would be empty. If I wanted to create an event from scratch, just from the home and from the events tool on the far left, which you can't see here, it would not give me a background for my event. But this one by default will give you an event photo. Use that photo if you can. If you think it's relevant to change it, then change it. Right now I'm just going to leave it because it's easy. But to change it,
like we probably put a picture of Tim Daughtry or a cover of his book, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, in order to do that, you've got a 1920 by 1080. A lot of pictures, or if it's a headshot, tend to be the other way. The orientation is more portrait rather than landscape. So if you have that, try to find a picture where the target, the subject, is speaking or standing somewhere where the layout is more landscape. Otherwise, what you can do is use a graphic software package. Drop that person, take a picture of Mount Rushmore or something else that's patriotic, put it in the background, put that person in the middle of it or just to the right of it, and have them appear in a landscape mode with their portrait on it. That way, you still have the landscape orientation with a very interesting backdrop, but the person's picture is still there in a vertical mode. If you do that, people tend to pay a little bit more attention. You have this aspect ratio of 16:9. Well, that's the 1920 by 1080. If you use that, it does lay out a very nice event photo. You give the event name. You put the event name in here, and I'm going to show you this little trick that I do. I have the event name, and I have all this stuff already, so I'm just scrolling down here. I have that post, so I'm just going to paste here. Here's all my information. Well, my event name, I'm just going to take it. Webinar, persuasive messaging. I'm just going to be lazy and cut and paste. And with my naming, I'm being very clear. I started out by saying webinar because some people may think it's a live event and I have to be there. Well, webinar can be a recorded event or it could be an online event, but you're still saying it's a webinar. There are very few people these days who don't understand what a webinar is. In fact, if they don't understand, they're probably not going to attend anyway.
So for the station, we'll just put the Zoom address, the link, so they really know it's not.
Exactly. But you can't do that inside of Facebook. They're kind of irritating with that. So what you can do is you can actually put it in your ticket URL, but I don't even suggest doing that if it's a webinar. Use the fields for really what they are, because if I include a place or address, I'll show you what happens. It just makes it confusing. It will give me this because it can't figure out what it is. Just use it. People may be confused by that also. If you find that you have some savvy users and it's a webinar, you can get to start using that in the future and tell people, I'm just going to use the location. That'll be the URL. People will start catching on. Hopefully, Facebook will start catching on themselves and actually put a webinar URL field where you can turn it off and turn it on. I've sent that request in. I don't know when it will happen. Okay, so we have location. We can leave it in here. It will still work. I'm going to place the time. I'm going to hit end time. Notice I just did that. End time turns on the end time field. Do that because if people think that it's a forever event, they may not want to go. You want to give them some expectation of how long it will last.
So it's November 5th, 11 a.m.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly go. November 5th. It will be on November 5th, and it'll be 11 a.m. Sometimes it doesn't work. There it goes. I'm using the arrow keys on my keyboard. I know you can't see that, but it lets me change just by hitting up and down. So it'll last until what, 1?
12:15.
12:15? Okay. So I've changed the time, I've changed the date, so it's 11/5/2015. And you can put hosts in here, co-hosts, that's hard to say. Like if Lee is, do that, she needs to be your friend or a friend of the page in order to do this. You can put other names in there, but Facebook doesn't like it. It's good to have people who are co-hosting be friends. Ticket URL if it's available. Otherwise, what you're going to do is you're going to put all this information down in the description. And when you do that, you really want to recap this all over again because a lot of people forget that it's up here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always good to repeat it and then break it up with good formatting so that people can see it clearly. So what I've done is I put November 5th, Thursday, and it has all the key information in there with the webinar Persuasive Messaging and the address for which for the webinar itself. You select the category. It's not important to select the category, but it's not a bad idea. So if it's a community and it's, you know, some sort of cause or volunteering or whatever else, most of the time I just put workshop or class. Okay. Mm-hmm. So like for this one, I think I put class when I created one. Now there's a one checkbox down here I want to point out. You don't have this on the personal event, but it's important on a page type event. Only hosts can post on the event wall. I suggest not checkmarking it. So that checkmark is a bad thing to me. If you have an event where you're worried about people who are going to jump in and troll or be bothersome, let's say that political presidential candidate A is attending this event. You know that there are going to be some trolls trying to post some stuff like, who cares? Or I hope they fall off the airplane or whatever. People will say evil things. It's best for the host to watch for that and just delete those posts or hide those posts because that person will go away. They'll eventually go away. And also, the negative responses to any event actually drive attendance on the event. I'll give you an example. If a presidential candidate was attending and trolls were putting bad posts, the supporters get charged up. So more people will attend or will try to attend. So taking this check mark away, if you've checked it, is actually a very good idea because you want even the controversial posts. Now, sometimes you really want a pristine event. You don't want things mucking up the works. You don't want anything to get in there and make it dangerous in any way. Yeah, that way it's very sterile and you can do that. However, keep in mind, when you do that, you restrict the event in such a way that people cannot share their photos. People cannot share their quotes. People cannot share their videos and other things related to past events or the event itself. So it's kind of difficult for me to say, go ahead and check mark it. Don't. That would be my choice. After you've done all those fields, this is well enough. You could clean up the image and put a different one with Tim Daughtry, like was mentioned. After everything's in there, just go ahead and hit create. When it's created, it'll actually appear in your post nice and neat. So here it comes. All right. So here's the event. You'll see your calendar of events on the left. You'll see this one that's been created. Here's an event which I created since I'm now done with this. This is the event I created for tonight. This is a personal event hosted by Dave Carter. It's a private event. I invited a handful of people, just an example. And I can message guests. I have two maybes. I only invited a small group. But take a look at the background image. I made it so that it was engaging. Mm-hmm. If this was an event that was a paid, promoted type of event, I really want to take the time to figure out what I want to do for that background image because it helps sell the event. In addition to that, I have the time. I have that it's a webinar, that's the location, and in fact, Lee, just as you suggested, I did that too, so I don't want people to think it's kind of weird. It's a good idea. You just need to start getting people into the habit. Here's the additional information. Just like we had talked about, I just cut and paste that post that Lee had. In addition to that, I also added some engagement points, and I want to show people this. If I was in that other event, which is right here, you can do these same tricks, but since I already have an event that's been created, I'm going to jump back over to it to show you the tricks that you can use. This is no fee so far. There's no paid promotion here. Here's the invite buttons for people I can invite. You can show more friends. If you know their friend directly, just add them in here. And if their name, let's see, let me think of somebody. Kathy. All right. Kathy Collier, Kathy Ross there. I'll add her. She's invited to the event. She's going to get this and wonder why I did it, but still, I added her to the event. This is where you add posts, but notice there's this ask question. This is what it looks like. When you ask a question, what you're doing is you are driving engagement. Make people do something, ask a question, get them to answer it. That way it gets people to take a look. Now, here's my total question. How many of you have already successfully used a Facebook event for an event? So, Lee, yay, good job. Roger, yay, good job. Yes, it did. It worked great. Yes, what was the question? I did that for the people who are short attention span. And no, not yet, but I'm interested. No, I'm allergic to Facebook events. And people who, no, I won't do it at all. So I give them some funny options. You don't have to do that. You can still be very sterile and use very clean language and King's English or Queen's English and make it wonderful, or you can have some fun with it. I tend to think that it's easier to have some fun with it because some people will look at it and say, hey, that's kind of cute, and they'll get involved. But the audience is, you have to know your audience. In addition, I shared something which is a cute quote or something that's interesting. Success is built by work, not luck. Mm-hmm. Building blocks that work together. I just created this meme myself earlier today, and I figured, hey, that's kind of nice. I'll share that with people. So I'm sure somebody else has said that, but I just went ahead and typed that in. Then I had a testimonial from other social media classes I've done, and Kathy had sent me a note before about one of the classes I taught for Chatham County, and I kept that quote. So I used that quote in a meme that I created of her quote that is her, with her nice little flag pin and everything, her speaking on my class. In addition to that, other people, because they can post to the wall, will post to the wall, and you can see their posts. It makes it a little bit more engaging. Then I jumped out, and I'm going to show you the tool in just a moment, to a graphics tool that I love, and grab this cool little image and just throw it out there and save the information, and then I put save the date. Well, I did this today or yesterday, so it really wasn't meant to be impactful because it was more of an example, which I'm using for today's class. But if you have an event that's coming up 3 months from now, 6 months from now, get started. Tell people to save the date, put some important pictures, do these kinds of tricks. They make a lot of sense. One additional thing is when you create the event, you get these little menus. You can turn off these posts if you want to. Like I want to delete this post or hide this post. Some event posts are kind of insignificant or detracting. You can delete them or hide them. For the most part, you'll hide them. But if you have a really nice post, let's say this one right here, success, pin it to the top. What happens is it'll go to the top of your event. It's a pinned post. That way, anybody who comes to the event will see it first before they scroll down and see anything else. Normally, they're in chronological order. Now, this pins to the top and everything else scrolls after it. Nice little technique. If you have an information graphic that says this is why this event is being hosted, this is the guest speaker. Let's say I had a picture of presidential candidate A here. I may pin that, at least for the first couple of months before the event or a couple of weeks before the event. So when they open the event, they see that person's picture, and it makes some sense. So bouncing out of here, I'm going to get back to the 4th District page where that event is. Okay, I created this event. This is back on the page. I can click on this event link and it will open that event. See how convenient that is using that same banner? Kind of pops up and it lets you know what everything is, November 5th. Very nice tool. Now on these new hosted events, just this week, Facebook turned on this nice little feature called Interested. Let me drill into this event and show you what that is. Normally it was going or maybe or not, whatever. They've changed it to going or interested. That has replaced the maybe. Now, if someone check marks or clicks the interested, I'm going to mark it to them. I'm going to tell them, you're interested in going, you may really got to consider actually going. Commit to it, because you'll get this benefit from it. Give them a call to action and give them a benefit for taking that action. So that's a new feature that just was turned on. You won't have this one here, but you will have this one. So that when you have a lot of people, you have these nice tools that are available to you. Creating a QR code for the event, promoting the event, which we're about to hit, adding it to a page, editing the event, and other things. Now, your event, you have that ask question tool. It's right here. Use it. See, now I can ask something, and then I ask questions. Like, very simply, I could say yes and no. And then I'm just having some fun here. The webinars regarding persuasive messaging, let people say yes or no. So I hit post.
Or are you good at talking to liberals? Are you good at persuading your liberal relatives?
There you go, and you can do that. Now let's say that this post is so important to you that you really, really want to find out if people are doing something with this post in your event. Turn on the notifications for it, and that way Lee or Mark or Linda or anybody else who's attending this webinar will actually get the message and see that someone said yes or someone said no. To do that, it's very simple. You turn on notifications, and you'll receive a notification when someone posts in that one post. Really good tool if you want to find out. Say you have a flash event. It's next week. You have a short period of time, so you ask a question. Who can bring lemonade? You want to get a notification when someone says they can bring lemonade. That's what you do. That's the kind of tool you can employ. So I'm just going to delete that one now. So, bye-bye. All right, so here's the event page, and here's all these other things in here. This tool right here is called Insights. If you own the page or you have access to the page and you're creating the event, you automatically get access to Insights. Oh, first, I want to mention this one. The invited, you create the event, you're automatically invited. So you'll always be the invited number. So if you invite other people, they'll get invited. So I'll invite Mary, and I'll invite Terry. There. Now it shows 3 people invited. This Insights is a really handy tool because the host has access to this. If there are multiple hosts, they'll all have access to this. I suggest multiple hosts for large events. Why? Because some people need to be the stewards for the bad comments. If it's a really bad comment, you want them to hide or delete them. If it's a good comment, it's a public event, you may want to keep the comments, and if they're kind of risky, but you know that people are going to jump in, fine. Figure it out what your plan is, and then the host will decide whether or not to hide or delete the comments.
And also people feel like, oh, I know that person. I want to go because I know her and I like her and I want to support her event. So
you got it. And you need to, that goes back to that free promotion phase. Have your people who say that they're going to go tell their friends, because a lot of people will go into their event, and you need to tell people, put it in one of the posts. They'll hit going, and they do nothing else. If they're going to tell their friends, tell them, after you click going, click share. Tell them to share this with other people. You want them to share with other people.
Yes.
And that call to action is one of those things that you need to remind them of. Most people will take that automaton kind of approach and they'll do what they're told and that's it. Or they may find some interest and just click that one thing, that one button that gets them in. But their friend may benefit too. So tell them, your friends will benefit too. Share this after you say you're going. Even if you're not going, share this. Those kinds of tools will get your event promoted for free. Let's go ahead and step into the paid promotion right here. I'm going to bounce back here just for a moment. Here's the paid marketing description on that. Here's the typical event page. I'm already in there, so I'm going to be jumping into the details here. But I want to address, before we get into actual setting up the paid marketing, I want to go over some bullets that are key. You've got to make sure before you set up your event marketing piece. You can set up your event and have it sitting there for weeks. It doesn't matter. You can be promoting it free and having a great time. If you find that it's filling up and you don't need to pay for marketing, well, you wouldn't be doing this anyway. But if you do decide to set a budget for it, you need to set things aside that you need to know before you do any of the work in the boosting. First, know your budget. I didn't put that in here, but that should be obvious. Know your budget. The second thing is, you really need to understand your audience. Who would appreciate knowing about this event and who would attend this event? Because, like, for example, I had the event, which is unrelated to politics, but it could be, the CCH, the Concealed Carry Handgun class, which was my example. I have to know that if they are a Bernie Sanders fan, they're probably not going to attend my event. But if they are a fan in some way of like Grassroots North Carolina or the NRA or something like that, they may be interested in attending my event. So I have to figure out my audience first. Once I know that, I have to isolate these little silos. What are their interests? What language? Because if I'm doing an event for the RNHA, well, I need language of English and language of Spanish because I want the Hispanic community too. If I'm looking at another community, like a specific group, Mandarin, I need to know if I have a specific language requirement. I may need to target them. If I'm looking for men only, it's a men's type workshop where I'm teaching activists in some way to help speak message for men or women or whatever. I need to know these things. Behaviors is more of, do they donate? Do they volunteer? That's a behavior, not necessarily an interest. And there are a few other things, but I'll go over those. Again, when you are setting up your boosting, you really need to understand your audience before you do it. So let's do this with this, and I'll use Lee's examples. I'm going to use Lee to set it up. So what I have here is I use the boost, and it gives me a desktop news feed and a mobile news feed. You can click on it and see what it looks like. That's what the event looks like. Desktop feed, which I'm using now. I'm using a desktop. This is what the event looks like. Now earlier, and I said it quickly, so somebody may have missed it, probably everybody, I said if you have a landscape picture, like a portrait style picture of Tim Daughtry, and I'm trying to embed it, if I had a vertical picture, it's going to be right in the center, and it's going to be kind of weird. If you can make it landscape, do that. And then take the main subject, put them in the center and just a little bit to the right of the center. The reason for that is your eyes will naturally move that way, and something in this general area, let me go ahead and turn this on to show you. Whoops. Did my screen go away?
Yes, it did.
That was neat. Okay, let's do this again. These buttons are so close to each other. If you put that picture of that person or whatever in this general area just to the right of center, more eyes will actually gravitate to it. But notice in this one, I chose that background in such a way which allowed for me to see the messaging here mostly. So I would fine tune this graphic because I don't like cut off words. I don't like cut off images. So keep that in mind when you're marketing and you're setting up your event. Anyway, getting past that. you have to figure out your audience, and these tricks work wonderfully. If I'm working with a county or with a district type page, I'm going to hit cancel here for a moment. Let me clear that. Annotation, there we go. This right here is an event for 4th District GOP. Okay, 4th District GOP is going to be hosting this event, 4th District NCGOP.
Not really, but yes.
Yes, this is a fake event. So if I'm boosting for that.
It's the event, but it's.
Yeah, true. It's going to be for everybody. DCCA, thank you very much. Since I'm boosting that for 4th District, I have to figure that the 4th District itself, I'm going to jump through these steps just to show everybody. I have right here, as fans of this page, 343 fans. Those likes are equated to fans. Keep that in mind. When I'm going back to this event and I'm promoting that event, takes a moment for it to show. Oh, look, people are getting engaged. Okay. I have choose people through targeting, which is what I'm going to do. But you can choose people who like your page. 300 and something people like this page. This is my example page. So I could market just to those people.
But they're going to see it anyway.
They're likely going to see it anyway. I almost never choose that option. One that I sometimes choose is the people who like my page and their friends.
Yes.
Now, if you do that, it gives you an estimate of how many total people on Facebook will see it. In many cases, this is actually a better option than the third one, which is what I use most of the time. This option will have people, let's say if I invite Lee, and she's my friend and she's liked this page, her friends will see this. Okay, her friends tend to be the type of people I want to attend this event. So in that kind of situation, this is a really good thing to do. So you may want to boost it this way. You can always boost it this way, then create another ad that's boosted through direct targeting, which is the next option, which is what I'm going to choose now. When I do that, it'll pick out, oh, this is a group I've set up before, so let me go ahead. I have all these groups that I've set up. And like, let's say I want CCH possible, Icon Conservatives, RNHA. Let's just say there's 8 target areas I had set up before. It has a whole bunch of counties, okay? So, and it has Chatham County, Wake County, and some other counties in there.
How can I choose North Carolina? Can I choose North?
Let's do that. If you set up an audience that you repeat the marketing to, you want to save it as an audience and you can pick it from this list. Well, let's do one all from scratch. Create new audience. When you do that, you can give it a name. Let's do that now. Webinar fans. You pick where it is. It would be North Carolina. Okay.
And then for our county chairs, like in their particular, they could choose their town.
They could choose their town. You can actually do that when it goes to cities. You can choose cities. And the nice thing about that, let's say if you want, let's go down to Aberdeen. Let me pick a bigger city, Chapel Hill. There we go. Chapel Hill. Then you get to pick plus or minus a handful of miles. You could do that. So if I'm picking a city, you want it to be Chapel Hill plus that many miles, or Durham plus 10 miles. So you can do that, or plus 25. And you're going to have this general area nicely. You pick your age group, and I can tell you that some events will not get young people. Some events will not get older people. Be specific with your ages. If it is a broad spectrum, allow the broad spectrum, 18 to 65 plus. They actually allow you to go younger. But if you think about it, are you going to really want to market to people who are playing Nintendo or their parents? So in most situations, it's going to be 18 and above. And frankly, it's going to be older than 18, maybe 20, 22 and above. Because most people who are younger than that really may not attend any of the events we set up. However, you may come up with some. Then you add in interests.
Here's the interesting part.
and you can say conservative politics or whatever. Say conservative. There we go. Conservative, being conservative. That's the Facebook page. That's kind of cool. Conservative Talk Radio. You get to pick different interests. And when you do that, you're just going to keep adding them in there. And let's say Conservative Talk Radio, and it gives you suggestions. Michael Savage, Laura Ingraham, sure. Sean Hannity, sure. Sarah Palin, Bill O'Reilly, Rush. I may not agree with everybody.
Anybody who on their Facebook page has liked any of these keywords.
You got it.
Yep.
So go crazy. Just keep clicking. Try not to click any people that you don't like or you really don't want to represent what you're doing. Like, I don't know why I would add Jenna Bush, frankly, or even Barbara, but I don't have anything against her. And the reason for that is if you add fluff, you're going to get fluff responses. So I've added all these, and that's good enough for me. I can still go into this list, scroll down, and add more manually, like Tea Party Express or something. Tea Party Patriots. And I say I want another group, and Liberty Caucus, and Liberty University has a bunch, things like that.
NCGOP.
See if the page actually shows. No, we don't have a registered like on that. So NC Republican, I think. No. Whoops. Oh well. Republican Party, USA. Just fill out all those things that would make sense. Now, I want you to take note of this event. This is the plain boosted event. I called it Webinar Fans. People around Durham, 25 miles. This age group, both genders, or all genders. I guess there's so many genders now. I don't know how that goes. Then we have all this stuff in here, and hit save. I put a $5 budget here. I could change the $5 budget, but let's say I put $50 in there, and it's worth it to me. Take a look at the reach suddenly change. My total audience has, it thinks, about 140K people. With all those interests I chose.
Or with one of
that.
With one of those. It is not like it's like an or not and.
Right, with one of those. Not necessarily every single one of them, correct. But your budget really matters. So if I choose a $5 total budget, notice that number drop. My audience, it still thinks is around 140K based upon all their demographic information, but only these people could possibly be reached with $5 is what they're saying. So that's why you can play with these and say, okay, what if I spend $30? Well, that's 13K. What if I spend $100 in one day? You may reach 30,000 people. I don't recommend doing that. It's kind of silly. The reason is, how many people do you know jump into Facebook religiously every day? There's a lot of people that do that, but how many people do you know who actually do that every day? If you extend the duration for a larger budget, you'll be far more effective. And we can take a look. 14 days instead of one day. Using $100 then in your total budget, far more effective. Then you have to put in the information. Don't write this information down. It'll tell me about every day. It'll be $7.14 spent in advertising for that for that ad. I can choose the end date. If I don't want 14 days. I can choose. I want 15 days. It'll say $6.60. The further out I go, the less I'll spend because my per day goes down. So I can place this ad, which I could just do by hitting boost, and it will place that ad. This is what it will look like on a mobile device, like my phone or your phone, and this is what it will look like on a feed. So let's not place that ad because I don't want to pay for this.
Cancel.
And I'll show you. I want to have you reminisce just for a moment this little information. There's these options right here. There's the webinar fans audience that I created, and I can edit the audience and fix it, but here's that group. It's very small on the information, but it's effective. That may be all you need. I'm saying that because I want you to remember the screen: name, location, age, gender, interests. Very simple. The total budget, how many people it thinks you'll reach, other things. I hit cancel. We just boosted, so we actually boosted it. We just boosted our event. A lot of people are going to see this in their feed, and they'll go, I wonder if I should attend that event. They have to have compelling stuff in this feed. When they click on it, they'll go here. You want to sell them in every post you can to attend your event. That'll make it far more effective. Now, that event really may just do everything you need to do with the tools provided in that boost. You can add a boost on steroids, which I typically don't tell people because it takes a lot. But I'm going to say it's in here without going into it in great detail unless Lee says it's a great idea. But what that is you would go to right here where it has ads, create ads. You would create an ad, and you have to set up an account to do that with Facebook. It only takes a few seconds, but they want your credit card. When you do that, you'll create an ad. When you create an ad for that page, it jumps through those. I have lots of campaigns I run. But take a look right here. You have boost your post, promote your page, send people. You have all these things. Look right here. Raise attendance at your event. That one right there, when you choose it, you have all sorts of events that are going on. For example, today there's a competing event which everybody's aware of. It's the Republican Women's Club of Chapel Hill. Yes, I'm aware of that. You can choose that because it's one of your events. You'll see it. If you created the event, it will show in this list. I have CCH Training for Absolute Beginners, which is my event, which happens to be on November 7th. That's why I used it as an example earlier. I also have this webinar, which we've been using in this example. I'm going to choose that, and it drops it in there. It's going to set up your event advertisement.
And you can also see that we really need to keep it short because, like, Tim's last name is getting cut off.
You won't see that. People won't see this.
Oh.
Where they see it is further down. So good observation. Having the key information up front is very key, but this is not what they'll see.
Okay.
So I'm going to give it a name. You can call it anything you want to. I'll just say webinar, and I'll say event, and then Tim. I can't type today. All right. And you don't have to see the whole thing. This is just to tell you what it is.
Okay.
Now, if you take a look, you have what I said, it's like turbocharged or steroids. The earlier audience was kind of like just this top area. Look at it. You have all this additional stuff now if you use this tool.
What are the behaviors that you can choose?
Yeah, the behavior, like say you know that they will donate, all charitable donations, cancer, if they donate, that's a behavior I want to capture. There are other behaviors you can capture too, like do they have they just purchased a house? Do they watch a lot of television? What do they watch?
Fox News.
Exactly, which would be news channels or talk shows or political things, news shows. Those kinds of things you want to choose and just browse. The best way to do is browse, or you can search. Say, for example, I want Newsies. There's news show. It chooses it for me. Say I want people who give to religious organizations. There you go. Religious and, well, religious shows sounds good too. These kinds of categories are what you figure out you want. So they have religious donations, all charitable donations.
What about business owners?
Business owners, okay. So business marketing, business
Small
travel.
Business owners, nice.
Business. There you go. So these are behaviors because they drive what they do. Interest is somewhat similar, but it's what we were in before. So if we added in, we just start typing. Here's Rush Limbaugh. There we go. You want the show, you can hit check mark. You can choose Sean. You can just go crazy in here and just add these. Now, it'll keep guessing based upon what you're choosing. So every now and then after you keep choosing, you'll have to type another search in there, and it will refresh what it's doing because it's sometimes loses track. As you saw earlier, I put Jenna Bush Hager. She's really not related to any of this stuff. So why have her? So you want to bring it back in line and say, I want a George Bush instead. And then you would see George Bush, and you can do the searching for that. Well, not a lot for George Bush there. How about that? Anyway, you would choose all those names, and that's your interest, which is additional to what you had before. Not identical to what you had before. When you finish doing all that, you pick your locations just like we did. You can do this neat tool in this advanced boosting tool. You cannot do this in the standard boosting tool, but I want to show you what it does. I'm going to zoom in. I'm using the scroll bar, and I'm zooming in. I'm going to pick it. I'm going to pick Lee. I'm going to your house. Okay. So Lee is over here. Durham. So I'm going to find where Lee is. Let's see here. City Center, downtown. That's not 147. She's down here. Where's 40? There's 40. So there's Farrington. So I'm close to where Lee is. I'm just going to choose streets at South Point for Lee. That's close enough. I'm going to hit drop pin. Drop a pin.
Bing.
And I can change. I want plus 50 miles. How cool is that?
That is very cool.
So plus 50 miles takes me into Virginia. I don't necessarily want to do that. So I'm going to put 25. And I can drop another pin here. And drop that to 25 miles. And I can just do these overlapping circles in the metro areas and make sure I catch all the key people. Or if I want to make sure that I capture certain people, I just go to where they are and drop a pin and put 10 miles or whatever. This tool is very handy. I don't have to use those. I can always turn them off right here and just say North Carolina. If I do that, it's going to be everybody in North Carolina who has these interests and behaviors. That may be what I'm looking for. In addition to that, I can still add the cities as we did before and put the plus or minus however many miles. Just like we did. I dropped a pin earlier, same thing as dropping a pin, but the dropping of the pin uses the GPS coordinates. So after we have all that in place, you have this additional stuff down here that is not available in the basic boost. For example, are they a gamer and other Facebook categories? Not useful right now. They had some other categories there before that were also pretty cruddy. So right now, I don't recommend you use them, but this right here is useful. See where the connections are? You have to choose. Do you want people who are already saying they're going to see this ad? Well, no, I don't want them to see my ad because I've already got them going. I don't want them to see it again. That makes sense? Or I could say, I don't mind if they see it again. They're going to be happy that they're seeing the ad to remind them. Great.
Yeah.
Or I want the friends of the people who are already going to see this ad.
Yes.
That's a key right there. So I do that one a lot.
Oh, but this is saying those are people who are being excluded, or?
No, you can exclude or include. There's an exclusion. Okay, see, there's the exclusion.
Gotcha.
The exclusion is for people who I know are going. Why should I market to them?
Okay.
So I want people who are going to tell their friends without knowing it. That's what this is going to do. And then I could say at the very end of it, save this audience, give it a name, and I'm going to call it Webinar Turbo Audience. So if I had done this very neatly and I had everything I wanted to, I would save this as a custom audience, then use that audience like I showed you before. I chose this 8-county region or 8-group region. I had other audiences I built. I did this a lot, so it's easy for me, but play with it and you'll get the hang of it. But build your own audience, because if you repeat the event, you have the same audience every time. To build an audience, just keep repeating. These tools down at the bottom are pretty much the same, your daily budget or a lifetime budget, which is the default. for the other event. I want it to be, $100. When you do that, take a look. It'll tell you what your audience definition will be. It's very specific. When it's in this red area, you're not going to get a lot of ad hits because it says potential reach fewer than 1,000 people. Well, the reason for that is I have religious people who donate and watch news and are in Durham. That's going to be tough. So let me open this up to all of North Carolina, and I'll show you what that number does. Scroll down here. Dude, come on, refresh. Wow. It's not refreshing. Either that or there's really only 1,000 people who have those demographics. Oh, let me put English in here. Wow, that's a small audience. So Facebook doesn't think a lot of people will see this. It's probably this one right here. It's still very small. I think Facebook is burping. It's not. It should update this to a really nice audience at this point because. Oh well, there's my problem. Let me turn that off. There we go.
Whoa. What was reducing it?
I forgot that I had turned on friends of people who are going. Only 3 people are going right now.
Oh, and that wasn't an additional thing. That was of those.
Of those, only the friends will see this. So I took that away and it fixed it. Okay, so my mistake. But that really shows you how these work. But take a look right here. In this recap screen, it's awesome. Because it tells you, if it's in this green zone, your ad is going to be pretty effective. If it gets over here, you're going to spend a fortune without getting the people you want.
Mm-hmm.
If it gets over here, the people you want will see it, but there's not a lot of them. So that green zone that's closest to the red as you can get is probably a really good match. All right, so the daily reach based upon that dollar that I put in here is about 1,000 people. 380 to about 1,000 people. That's not bad. Again, my total audience is 58K. Back up here, that's my 58K. The more I add in here, if I want charitable again, it lowers it a little bit. Yeah. Oh, it increased it because there's
Right,
a lot.
It's not and, it's or, I think.
Yeah, it's or. That's correct. So I have to be careful with that. Nonetheless, those people will see these, and you'll see that more people will be exposed. When you do that, you can actually pick how it's optimized. Like, I want people to click on it, or I just want people to see the ad. A click is where they're clicking on my event. An impression is they see the little ad in the corner or on the screen. Unique daily reach means that I want that impression to unique people. I don't want the one person to see the same ad 2 times in a day. If you do the event responses, it actually drives it to the people who have interests which match closely. So the best bang for the buck is typically that default choice. Another thing is, if you know your audience is not, if they work during the day and they don't use Facebook, you can turn off the ads on a schedule so that they don't see it during the workday. Why waste money? Mm-hmm. Some situations are like that. Or run it all the time. It's up to you. And then you have other options on how you do it. For the most part, I recommend just an standard. Then you set a name for this, and I'm just going to call it webinar ad, and run with it. You can use your default graphic right here, your default graphic. Now, I want to show you a trick with this one website I use a lot. Again, let's say we're talking about Tim Daughtry. This is a website I use called Pixabay. It's royalty-free, which I love not paying for stuff. So Pixabay works great. There are other sites like this, but I use this one a lot. Say I want a patriotic. Can't type today. Patriotic, lots of great pictures. So I like this one here. I click on it. If I sign up for the account, I can choose this extra large, which is huge, 3.5K by 2.6K, great image. But this large is big enough. I see 19.2 by 44, by 14.4. If I go back to my ads manager, it says that the best image size is 1200x. A lot of people don't know what that means. 1200 by 628. Well, that's fine. It's a horizontal picture. So 1200 by 628. I'm going to get rid of the one I have here. And I'm going to upload this one here. I'm going to hit free download to 4909. Hit download. And I'm going to put it in this folder here, and I'm going to put it, new social media. I'm going to call it Social Media X. So there it is right there. I'm going to bounce back into my ad and upload image, Social Media X, and it's uploaded. There's that image, and it shows you what it looks like.
Nice.
I always suggest that you preview your images, okay? This crop tool is what you need to use. If you don't do it, you'll find a mistake someday. Take a look. Here's your image. You can use this crop tool or this one. I'm going to show you from this one. You get to pick where the image shows. I'm going to want the whole flag. So I'm moving it up. That's what the new ad will be. I can drag it down. That's the new ad. That's the one I want, so that's where I'm going to set it. So now it's going to change. When I go into my feed, you see the whole image. So if I go to mobile feed, much prettier. Another tool, if you're using this advanced tool set, is you have free stock images, which are great. You don't have to use this Pixabay, which I think is wonderful. The free stock images are also tremendous. It uses Shutterstock. So you go in here, and I'm going to type patriotic also. After a few moments of searching, it's going to present to me, eventually, a group of images that I can use.
And this is called Shutterstock?
Yeah, Shutterstock. This is using an internal licensing agreement from Facebook with Shutterstock. If you're using them for ads, they're free.
Oh.
If you're creating your own ads and you want to pay for them, you can. You can go to Shutterstock directly, and they have more advanced images than this. This is just a small library. I don't know why it's not working. Let me close it because it should have loaded by now. A small library, but they're big, patriotic. There we go. Okay. That worked. It's a much smaller library than what you would find if you went directly to Shutterstock, but it's still wonderful. Like, here's a great picture here. Here's a wonderful picture here. Here's a great picture, great picture. Hey, the cat may get one's attention. The cat in a hat. All right. So I dropped those in there. I'm not going to add any more. About 6 is all you need. What it will do is it will cycle through these pictures and show different pictures with the same ad. So one may get someone's attention, like the cat, whereas another may not, like just the flag. So what I tell people is, after you've done that, go through your ad previews and look at each one. You can scroll through the ads and take a look at each one and see what it looks like. If you need to fix it, go in and hit that crop, change how it's oriented, and then look at it.
That's so cute.
So when you do that, your ad is far more effective. It takes a moment to refresh. Far more effective because you have better imaging. Your event itself still has its banner, but your ad for the event can be, again, turbocharged. So I'm just going to show an example here. Desktop newsfeed, that's what it will show. And the desktop right column, you've seen that's that ad that you always see on the right-hand side. This is what it looks like. Now, earlier, how cute is that? So earlier, Lee, you had mentioned that the name was too long. We go back up here to show you. That name is too long. Well, that's for your use only right here. The ad itself is down here, and here's the mock-up. Right now it reads 4th District NC GOP webinar, blah, 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 blah.
And then it cuts off Tim's name.
Yeah, that's not good enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the text of the ad, turn on advanced options, and do this. Now watch what happens when I make a change. See how it moved? It changed it. This is cut off, that's okay. This information is updated. I'll show you again. Look what's happening. See right here?
But the upper part, the headline part.
Yeah, that's just a link. You can change that and probably just leave webinar persuasive messaging or webinar with Tim Daughtry.
Mm-hmm.
However you do it is your standard, but try to stick with it.
Yeah.
But this area down here is this free form text field that you have. I believe it's 150 characters to use. So you can add a lot of information to make it very informative.
And where you change the headline part is where?
The headline part won't change because that is the page that it's hosted by.
Oh.
And this right here is the name of the event. So if you want to change the event before you actually place this, let me just go. Well, I'll show you where you change the name of the event in just a second. But
okay.
I'm done here. We would finish changing this. I don't want to repeat the date and all that stuff. I want to show you that. See, I have the date in here.
Mm-hmm.
That date is already in here. Don't repeat it.
Right.
I'm going to say some amazing information there, or I'm just being silly here. But that information we put down here, that'll be part of the ad, and it has the date, people invited.
Cool.
I would hit place order. You don't have to review it, but you can place order, and that ad will go into effect. However, I decided it to go into effect for this date range. Let me cancel this and address that. This right here, hit edit, and change the name of your event. If you want to be able to see that event fully, not just the link for the event, but the name of the event fully, to something like this. That's enough characters because you have, I believe it's 80 characters across before it starts cutting off. Okay. That right here, if I save it.
And then in the text part, we'd put, persuasive messaging.
Right. That's already in here. So now if I go to that event and I'm actually marketing it, I'll show you that. Oops. Get out of there. Create ad. I'm hoping it's just me because Facebook is slow tonight. If I say I'm promoting that event, I'll show you really quickly. Webinar with Tim Daughtry.
Very good.
If I scroll down here, all those things will be in place. If I go down here and I'm looking at this, that's what shows. Mm-hmm. And when I'm actually in the feed, that's what shows too. I can then use this text, leave that in there if I want to, or add more, because see how it repeats?
Right, so there, learn how to persuade your liberal relatives. Yeah. How to persuade.
Something fun.
Right, exactly.
Okay, now you have a limit on the number of characters, and it tells you, 90 characters of text. always forget what it is. I always type until I can't type anymore. See, so if I go,
Gotcha.
so you're limited there, but you have a lot of use for that, so you can set that up.
Very good.
Once you have that, you just hit place order and you're good to go.
That is awesome.
All right. That's the basics on boosting. There's the basic boost and there's the what I call turbo boost. That turbo boost, you get a bigger behavior, bigger interest, better application of your budget. It works really, really well. The basic boost works wonderfully if you know that there's a fan group out there that is already an interest group inside of Facebook. For example, NRA or a particular church or a particular candidate. You know, if I did an event for political presidential candidate A, and I know that they're like #1 or #2 or #3 right now, they're going to have a following. I put their name in, those people will see the ad. So in wrapping up, I've got 2 pages of bonus tips for the people who are here, and the people who end up watching this later, they'll still get them, but it's not as fun as being here live. But because you made it through the whole webinar, these things are really key. If you start far enough into an event cycle, what you can actually do far enough in advance in an event cycle, if you start changing your signature in Gmail or whatever so that it has the link to the event or information about where to buy tickets for the event, you send out an email all the time to your friends, you may not even realize that you're sharing that information each time. It's just easy to do. Lee, for you with your DCCA things, and you know that you're sending to members, well, if you're sending to several people in several counties, create several signatures, which you can do in most email programs. Choose that signature that related to the next event. They'll see it every time you send them an email.
That's a cool idea.
A lot of people forget that's there. Now, in order to do that, take a look at this really neat tip. If I switch away and go back into, well, how about that? My Chrome went away. All right, let me relaunch Chrome and go back into Facebook. Ooh, Chrome did not shut down correctly. Yeah. Okay, that was evil. If you take a look at your event, it has this long number and it says events. Let's grab this thing right here. If I go into another browser and paste that, it'll open this page. This is a public page because I made it public. So if I'm setting up my signature, if I'm setting up my signature for my email, take that link and let's just do it this way, the old-fashioned way. Let's just hit paste it into my signature. If someone goes to it, look where they go. Hey, they open the page for that event. So that's a really nice tip that a lot of people forget to do. It's free advertising. You're sharing it with people. You're probably emailing anyway. Go ahead and do it. The same thing is take that same link technique that I just did and put it in Twitter. So if I'm in Twitter right now, it's like, hey, everybody take a look at my thing. That's purely for a public-facing event. Or am I still here? My screen is acting up.
No, yeah, you are.
Okay. I'm getting a message on my screen that says your internet has become unstable.
You're here. Your voice is going in and out, but we can hear you still.
Okay. So if I disappear, I can come back. Do the same thing in LinkedIn. Use LinkedIn marketing. Tools such as Eventbrite takes a lot of time to actually teach people how to use it powerfully, but basically use it. It works great. It'll do a lot of features, and it will help you in your Facebook marketing. If you have an event that is a free event, make it a paid event. And what I mean is make people do something to come to the event. People feel the ownership of the event when they do that. And I'll give an example. Charge a canned good for a local charity. That way you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You bring in a lot of canned goods. which someone will come pick up. You arrange for someone to come pick them up. If it's a physical event, you can't do that with a webinar. It'd be really weird. But have someone prearranged. We'll have boxes of food at this event. Come pick them up the next day, something like that. But tell people they have to bring a can of string beans or whatever it is to attend the event, even if it's a free event, because it, like I said, it gives them the ownership of the event. They're happy they paid to come. Of course, make the event fun. Don't make it boring. Another thing is have people check into the event. If it's a webinar, have them check in some way. If they're, which they will do. But it's nice if they go back to the check-in page, which is the event page, even if it's a webinar, have them go to the event page and say, I love the event. I'm here. It's wonderful. I'm learning lots, or something like that. So in my example, I would go back to my event for this and say, finished the class. It was great. I checked in. If you're at a physical event, you may have seen this. You have that little pin drop for the GPS tools on Facebook. You can actually check in to an event. When you show up at the event, you hit the check-in, and it says you're at that event. That tells their friends that you're the cool person, and you went to this event, and they're going to be jealous of you. I don't know. I just hope that happens. Another thing is
FOMO, fear of missing out.
Exactly. You want to tell people what they're missing. Make them feel jealous. The other thing is, and I say the in crowd does this kind of thing, but it's really cool. Depending on the event, some events are more secretive or more private, and other events are just generalized, huge, and you really want to share them out. One-time events are big on this, like if a political candidate comes to town. But if you have a repeat event, it's also pretty cool because the speaker typically changes every year. In that case, you use a tool such as Meerkat or Periscope. If you're not familiar with them, take a look in Google, type in Meerkat, don't look at the animal, look at the app. Periscope, don't look at the apparatus on a sub, actually look at Periscope, the app, read the information on them. They're really handy tools. I enjoy them. I think they're very useful. They can help promote your events because people say, oh, that event. It may not be useful for promoting the live actual event, but they're useful for promoting the next time event. Also, if you're using Periscope or Meerkat and you have a team of volunteers who are setting up for the event, say the event is tomorrow or the day after, and you want to get people excited about it, Periscope, instead of just taking pictures, the preparations, they're putting up bunting and they're putting the ribbons on tables or whatever it is for Lincoln Reagan or that kind of thing. Use Periscope and show the activity, the busy bees that are working, and that builds buzz because people get that idea. Pardon me?
I love that idea.
And then after the event, you share out the event information just like we've done. And I publish tons of photos. You need to do that. Put it in the event, put it in that Facebook group that you created for your team to build the buzz. Tag everybody. Go crazy and tell other people. Be sure to tag your friends. Award people little silly things and say, the person who tags the most people gets a prize. Just randomly give someone a prize. It doesn't really matter. But you want to make people feel good for doing something that they should be doing anyway, because this does promote what you're doing. So, people like that. It's the attaboy, attagirl thing. Encourage them to do something. Give them the thank you and the gratitude, then post it out there on the event page to follow up. Special thanks to Kathy so-and-so for doing all these tags. She knows everybody. Everybody be like Kathy. Or whatever it is, some way to say nice things about people so people feel that they can emulate that behavior, maybe not the person, but that behavior, and do the same thing for the next event. All right, there's so many more little techniques and tips and so on that I can put out there, but what I can do is we can pull this to a close. If there are any, I know that there's 2 people who are attending actively right now still. Those people can raise their hand, or if there's anybody else that I don't see on the list, you can raise your hand. Lee will tell me and I can address it with a Q&A. If not, if you have questions, direct them through Lee, and I would love to help people making sure that they can make their events just a blast to attend.
I'm going to unmute Linda and Mark and see if they have any questions. Linda, Mark, do you have any questions? Hi.
I think this is great. I just have learned a lot. I've taken pages of notes, and
Good.
we're thinking of our Lincoln Reagan Day dinner, and I'm thinking of all sorts of good ways of using this stuff.
Excellent.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, we're just starting the preliminaries on our Lincoln Reagan dinner for next spring, so this will fall right in place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next spring, so you have about 6 months to address this. This is the time to get the page set up. If you don't already have a page for your county or district, which it would be county in your case, right?
Yes, I'm from Scotland County. We do have our own Facebook page.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, start building out your Facebook page with just the general interests and pictures and get people engaged. That way your marketing is so much easier. Build the event page for this as soon as you can. Build your group. Follow those steps and get people to own the whole process. Because you know you have those few volunteers that always show up, who always do all the work.
Yeah.
Expand that so easily just by letting them all feel good about being involved.
Yeah, and if you have photos from your last event, that can be some of your posts. Put up some of the old photos and tag like 50 people in the photo and say, wow, I hope everybody who came last year comes this year. It was so much fun.
Good idea. I like that.
Yeah, we had Ben Carson and for our Lincoln Reagan dinner in March, and hoping to get somebody equally as good next March.
Wow, that's
okay. So
great.
Where are you, Linda?
Forsyth County.
Okay, I'll drive over there.
Linda and Mark, do you know how to tag photos?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
And I've gotten to where not only do I like, but I share everything now.
Perfect.
And sometimes I even make comments. So I'm starting to get into that mode. I'm trying to encourage other people on the committee to do it.
Now, what you just said is part of the magic, and a lot of people don't realize this, so I have to address this. When you like, it's called an engagement. When you comment, it's called an active engagement. It's not just clicking a button. You actually have to type. When you comment, it elevates the exposure for whatever it is you're commenting on. So if you get friends and others to do that, their call to action, whatever event, whatever page, it's going to drive more attention to it. So what you're doing is great. Have other people do it too.
And the other thing we've started doing is we just bought some ad space, a very small amount, and it's amazing how many new likes we're getting on our page.
That's great.
And we just are rather amazed at it. So I think we're going to continue to do that.
Okay. When you say ad space, are you talking about Facebook ads?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a lot of
Okay,
bang for your buck. It's like for $10, you can reach so many people.
It is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Every day we get 3 or 4 people liking our page now.
Are you using the behavior or the interest like I showed you in the...
I don't know. I don't know how Mark set it up. I have to talk to him about this. My Mark Baker.
Okay.
I don't know how he set it up, and he may very well just done the basics.
If he did the basics, that's fine. You're going to get a generic audience that way, which isn't a bad thing. More people who really don't care will get in. So it's probably a good idea to revisit that and see specifically what behaviors or interests you're targeting. Because like I use in this example, Rush Limbaugh, the Hannity, Mark Levin, these people, if you're listening to those, they're probably not going to be the Bernie Sanders crowd.
That's right.
So those are the people you want to know about what you have. So check it out. Make sure that those are turned on. Because you're not going to get any pennies here and there. Because it really is pennies at that point. But those pennies do add up.
They do.
Yeah, you want to make sure you're targeting the right people.
Yep.
We also have to tell you, we did a bean pull at the fair.
Oh, nice.
If you go up and put your email in, we gave you a bean and you could vote for a presidential candidate.
Oh, cool.
And we ended up having 1,200 people vote.
1,200 emails.
Wow.
Right.
And I ended up, I got the job of typing all the email addresses in. And there were about 780 of them, with married and people that didn't leave email addresses, just regular addresses. And about 150 bounced. So we still picked up a good 600, new email addresses.
Well, that was a very creative effort. Congratulations.
I love that.
Great.
I want to mention this to both of you here. If you use email addresses, and some people may be in Facebook, but they're not following you or they're not liking you, but you have their email addresses. There is a technique that allows you, if you're using your ads properly, it allows you to upload all your email addresses, and Facebook will look at those email addresses and match those to Facebook accounts.
Wow.
Oh.
When it does that, it will then allow you to create an audience for that group alone. And when you do that, you can market to your email list.
Wow. Where do you put the email addresses in?
There's a couple of screens. It's in the advanced tools, and at some point in time, if you want to have an advanced class, I'll do that. But it does take some time. But there's an easy way you can cut and paste the email list, which is kind of ugly, or you can use an Excel file or a text file and just upload it, and it goes through, and it's really amazing. Facebook will grab each and every email, compare it to their database, and if it does have a hit, that email will turn on, and that account for Facebook will turn on for that ad.
Wow. That is so good to know. That is really useful, Dave.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, thank you so much. I learned so much, and this is going to be helpful to the hundreds of chairs and vice chairs across the state who are going to be viewing this later. And thank you, Linda and Mark, for joining us.
You're welcome. I really learned a lot. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Okay, take care.